Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here with us today. Welcome to the Geoship Investor Circle. Geoship is on the path to redefine housing for a regenerative future. Today, you'll get a look into our journey from the perspectives of those who believed in our mission from the very beginning. They'll be talking about why they invested in Geoship, the factors that bolstered their confidence, and their vision for reshaping housing with sustainable, affordable, regenerative homes. I'm Sarah Hardwick, head of crowdfunding here at Geoship, and I've helped to raise over $140 million for other world-changing companies. I personally am a deep believer in the mission of Geoship. I'm here with our CEO, Micha, our co-founder, Morgan, and three of the most renowned investors in the startup technology space. We have David Gaian of Holos Ventures, Matt Richards from TierrAmor, Eli Call, visionary real estate and startup investor. And all three of these people were attracted to Geoship for different reasons, and they'll be sharing those insights and their stories with us today. This webinar is part of our commitment at Geoship to transparency and giving our investors the inside perspective. So Micha, let's start with a quick company update, and then we can meet our esteemed panelists. So Micha, take us away.
Ow! Great to see so
Ow!
many amazing people here. Thank you so much for joining us today. These last few weeks have just been over the top phenomenal. John Mark and I, we were out in Austin doing a bunch of events out there, speaking at events, and we met a lot of you guys at those events. And Geoship investors showed up in droves, just showing their support for us. And we got the opportunity to speak at several of our investors' homes where they invited friends to those homes. And I'm excited to say we've already raised $1.5 million in this latest seed round and the seed two, which it's only been open for a few weeks. So that's just been absolutely phenomenal. We're so excited. And we just got off a 2-day product and engineering offsite where Morgan was there and actually Eli was there as well. And, it just was so amazing to see how close we are, like how much work has went into all the details of this product to every little system, every little subsystem. And now we're going deep on the installation process and how we're going to be installing these. And just like, it's, it's it's like so close. Like when you're working on something for years and it gets to that point where it's like so close you can like almost like taste it. It's like we're at that moment now. It's like the equipment is showing up at the factory. It's like we have like water chillers and conveyance systems, and we got mixers on their way. And we have electricians working in the factory, putting in the wiring so we can place the equipment where it's supposed to go. It's like, wow, we're really going to start manufacturing these things after 7 years of being in like this devoted space of R&D and figuring out this material science and creating a great product. So it's just such an exciting time at Geoship, and I'm so grateful for all of you to be here. So, but the topic of today is for you guys, for our potential future investors, to learn from some of our existing investors. And yeah, Matt, David, and Eli have just been some of the real like the most phenomenal supporters that really got it done in our last seed round. Matt and Eli really they came in very early in the round and kicked us off. And David was our final investor that really closed out the round for us. And they all came in a really big way, and they've had such an impact on Geoship in really getting this team hired and getting things off the ground and getting our pilot production facility leased. We would not have been able to do that without their support. So super, super grateful. And today we're all going to learn from them. We're going to learn about their backgrounds and their process in considering an investment in Geoship. So we'll start there. I know all of you guys have really exceptional backgrounds, but I also know you're very like heart-centered, humble people that don't really brag about yourselves. So I want to encourage you and give you a nudge to really talk yourselves up and shed some really great light on your career achievements here. So to start out, let's just tell us about yourself and your backgrounds, and we'll start with you, Eli.
Yeah, my name's Eli Call. I've been a real estate investor now for 21 years, various aspects. I've owned over 750 rentals, done over 600 remodels. I understand homes, how they come together, how they work. I also intimately understand the downsides of homes, specifically like what works with them and what doesn't. Um, Overall, I would say I understand homes inside and out, the rental, the ownership, all that, all the different aspects. And yeah, so Super excited to be here. When I first heard about Geoship, I was just blown away and thought there's no way a housing product could be this good and solve this many of the significant downsides and problems that homes have today. And so, yeah, super excited to be here and be part of the team. So, thank you all.
Well, thanks for being here, Eli. Can't wait to dive deeper in your perspective. Matt, how about a little bit about your background?
Yeah, so I've founded a few companies. I was part of the founding company. Many of you know, well, some of you know, probably MakerDAO was one of the first blockchain focused stablecoin companies, really that like lifted uh, created the possibility really for decentralized stablecoins to be a thing on the Ethereum blockchain. And a combined market cap now of almost 15 million, or 15 billion, sorry. So that, and then now I'm starting something called TierrAmor, which is it's an institute for deliberate transformation in Costa Rica. And um, yeah, I could talk a lot more about many different things, but I like to keep things short and sweet.
Okay, thanks, Matt. And last but not least, David, tell us a little bit about your background and yourself and what brought you here today.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me. My name is David Gaian. I'm a career risk analyst for historically ESG hedge trading, but in the last decade focused much more as a risk analyst for venture investments focused on impact. I was privileged to work on major global manufactured products, funding and development rollout, multi-billion dollar projects, was with combination of international pharmaceutical research, working on human genome projects. So we rolled out major life sciences blood testing instruments that helped humanity in some way. But I always wanted to work with individuals, investors who don't usually get institutional advantage in accessing great opportunity, especially impact opportunity, to be able to see how really rigorous diligence is conducted and to make a determination themselves whether to invest or not. And it was with that in mind that we ended up identifying Geoship, and I look forward to sharing more about that. But we're very proud. We've, as investors, like we are now in Geoship, we've been able to advocate for important breakthrough solutions and added billions of dollars of value to the aggregate share value of private equity companies. So it's a little bit about my background, and I'm so grateful to be here.
Yeah, amazing. You guys are all such exceptional humans. Yeah, now we're going to dive in a little bit about your investment rationale. So what initially, what I'm interested in, like what initially sparked your interest in Geoship's mission, and also just tell us a little bit about your process and approach to investing, and what led you to be a yes in Geoship. So we'll start off with you, Eli.
Well, first off, I have to thank Misha and Morgan for putting up with me as I did due diligence because it was a very, very extensive process for, yeah, countless dozens of hours. And anyway, as I dove into this and, from my real estate experience, I've just found that there's so many problems. And with traditional homes here in America, particularly affordability. The cost to build homes is now over $300 in most places. And, where we live, $450, $500, largely because of the material
That's a
cost.
foot, right? That's like a per
Per
foot.
foot.
Yeah.
Yeah. The material cost to build things, the skilled labor to put things together with, employees now, as construction workers are getting older and older, more people, the younger generation is not moving into this trade as much. And the cost of skilled labor in my 21 years of experience has skyrocketed. The cost to comply with government regulations has just gone through the roof, all the different regulations. And Geoship's like, we're going to get factory built housing. And I was like, wow, if you can do that, that is a game changer. And putting a house together, there's over 400,000 pieces that goes into a house. And, you need skills to do every single one of those pieces. You need to know how they all come together and how to put them in so it doesn't cause problems for the next step, et cetera, et cetera. Fires. I had two houses of my own rental homes burned down in 2021, and it started causing me to look at better solutions of things that are fire resilient. Wind. I just sold 2 years ago a few houses I owned in Tampa, Florida. Made some phone calls, and two of those were destroyed in this last hurricane. It's real problems like that. And one of the biggest ones that caught me was mold. As I had hundreds of homes and, people and, mold starting to become a more known thing. And I just saw the liability coming. It's just like, a drippy faucet can cause mold that can ruin somebody's life. And, if it's falling on particle board, and most homes are made of particle board, and just things like this. And then the toxins, I can't even go into Home Depot anymore because there's so many toxic off gases in the store where you're buying the materials that you're putting into your home that your kids live in. Like, those are the main points that just caused me to be like, there is no way that we can solve all of these problems. And then when I found Geoship, it was just like, if this solves all of those like they say they do, wow. And so that's when I started drilling Morgan and Misha, and for months asking all these hard questions, and I was sold. It was just like, okay, I'm in. And I wrote the first check, and then I just kept doing more and helping out. And it's just like, and then I put nearly $1 million into it right after that. And it solves so many problems. It's that simple. So
Yeah. And just a little bit about the backstory here, just so everyone knows, it's like Eli showed up, he wrote his first check, and Eli, I actually appreciate how much like you put us through in the due diligence process, but I I've raised over $30 million in my career. I've dealt with a lot of investors. Eli was so thorough in looking under at every single little last detail about Geoship. And it actually prepped us for working with all the future investors we're talking to. And it was really great having him as the first person to really commit. And then a friend of ours introduced a friend of mine, Jordan Greenhall, who's also on our advisory board, introduced us to Matt Richards. And Matt really showed up, but he was like, I'm going to write you guys a big check, but you guys have to raise $1 million first. And you guys got to convince other people to put in the $1 million. So I'm like, okay. So like Matt's going to come in, but he's really creating a challenge for me to go out there. And then Eli spends the night in the dome. And after you slept in there was really like triggered that. So maybe speak into like, I remember after you spent the night in there, it was like,
yeah,
right.
it's probably going to bring tears to my eyes because I own hundreds of homes, and when I slept in it, it changed my life. It was just like, this is what I've been looking for. Just feeling this essence inside of this, essentially a crystalline home, like living inside of a crystal. And it's just like, this is it. And yeah, it changed it. And it was like, I never want to live in a rectilinear home again. And here I am in one because we're still waiting to get the first Geoship, the big model out, and I can't wait to live in one. It's just that simple. So I'm largely in this because I'm a passionate customer that wants one of these. And also I see that it solves so many things. So yeah,
Appreciate
it's an
that.
experience. You all need experience.
Yeah. Appreciate that, Eli. And that really that step up in your investment triggered a few other people to invest, and then Matt came in because we crossed that threshold, and it really got us going on our first seed round. So thank you guys. You made such in our trajectory. So Matt, I'd love to hear from your perspective, like, what was your process like in invest, and what were the most compelling reasons for you to join this movement?
Yeah, apologies, because the Pura Vida internet right now might be a little bit choppy. So I got most of what you asked me there, Misha, but I'm going to give it a shot, and we'll see how much you guys hear from me. Um, you know, I have really a lot of the same rationale, frankly, as Eli. My feeling the first time that I went into the dome and what Morgan was on about with like all of this very, technical language, and also just like I was like, okay, cool, but like, what is this? What does it actually mean to be like inside of a crystalline structure? What does it actually mean to be inside of a bioceramic structure, right? And when I got in there, uh, and just closed my eyes for a few minutes and had a really deep meditative state, like onset almost immediately. It was really beautiful and profound and really spoke volumes, I think, about where not only this company is going, but where the earth is going, where we are going collectively, where consciousness is going. And I really see, honestly, this as a tool for upgrading collective consciousness. So that's my, flowery, exciting, from one perspective, hopefully inspiring, take on things, but also really it's just extremely functional. It's economical, it's fire resistant, it's mold resistant. It's, I'm I'm in an earthquake zone. It's also earthquake resistant. I expect once we put these things on the ground and actually set them up for them to live, if you put up a normal house, like a wood house, especially here in Guanacaste, Costa Rica, you can expect a shelf life of that thing anywhere from like 15 to 30 years before you have to basically tear it down because of how much it expands and contracts, because of mold issues, because of it's, living in a dry tropical landscape is really not easy. So material is a massive consideration for me all the time, especially as we're building TierrAmor. So I'm very, very excited about having these geoships on our land. And, we also have wind. we get these seasonal winds from Nicaragua that are in excess of 100 miles an hour when they're facing towards the northeast, So we're going to just set up some camps of geoships, and these things are going to take it like champions. Very excited to have these things on this land for this reason.
Yeah, and I don't know. You mentioned TierrAmor, but you didn't mention you're doing a development project over there, and you're looking to bring in Geoship as being one of the first Geoship developments down in Costa Rica, and in later phases of your project. So we're super excited to be partnering with you on that.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is besides those two reasons I just mentioned, this is like the main reason that I was an investor in Geoship is I really want to have them as part of the community that I live in forever, and that I can give to my kids and be like, cool, that's going to be good for your grandkids,
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Matt. And David, you have a really unique perspective here. You're really the only like institutional type investor in this background. And I know you're not like a traditional institution. We've kind of avoided more of the kind of like traditional financial institutions so far. And you're more of an impact oriented institution, but maybe you can share about like your experience in evaluating investment opportunities and like what your process was and what drew you to being a yes.
Sure, thank you. And I'm so touched by the other communications from Matt and Eli. If I may, I'd like to credit my father. When I was in junior high, he wanted to move our family out of inner city Minneapolis to the countryside north of the cities. And he was a fan of Bucky Fuller, and he identified, with this dream and this unique shape. And so it captivated his imagination. I think he would have been an architect if he hadn't gone into restaurant touring. But so I watched him battle local, building codes and to bring this novel idea to a 1979 HOA north of Minneapolis. But what it did was it really gave my dad and I a chance to bond around conversations about the quality of life, starting with a home. He grew up as a farmer, and he always anchored me in nature. And he said, why shouldn't the home be an extension of nature? And we don't always have to build these square boxes. And, introduced to me some cool folk music that made fun of square boxes on hillsides. We can leave that for the older generation here to smile about. But long story short, it really started that imagination in me. And may no one else here need to learn the painful lesson about how much 10 million doesn't buy you in a home in the Bay Area. I see a few people smiling. Had I either known Matt or Eli earlier, they would have counseled me wiser. So but I just wanted to create some context that there's a big heart draw to being here. And in my 20s and 30s, I traveled the world looking at the role of housing in enabling community. So Matt and I have a bunch of stuff to talk about. But so yeah, for me, if I could just answer sort of through the lens of Holos, we're an organization focused on empowering through education and training the average investor, if you will, and availing them preeminent impact investment opportunities. So, of course, in that role of responsibility, we have to do incredibly deep diligence. And maybe I'll talk more about that later if you want, Micha. But I think what primarily drove us to...
What's a good time to jump into that, I think.
Yeah, okay. Well, so what primarily drew us to Geoship, so we had identified, without knowing about Geoship, 8 silos of impact. And without getting into any of that, global housing is a major one. And our sorting criteria, not because we're more for-profit than triple bottom line impact oriented, but because smart impact investing also ticks all the traditional requirements of impeccable diligence, we were sorting global markets for hunting innovation that would iterate or put its solution into multi-trillion-dollar deep markets. And anyone who with any experience in risk investing knows how the deeper the market, all other criteria being met for a good investment, the less your risk goes down, competitive costs, etc. Now, housing, and I get goosebumps saying it again, I have sat with some of the world's biggest bankers as they are wringing their hands and reflecting on needing to move tens of trillions of dollars into this thing they call the new clean energy economy. And that is the solving of energy, electricity, but also water, food, all those essentials. And housing was always right there in the top 3 things they were mentioning. So I learned about the global crisis in housing through their eyes. And so I can say, when I came to Geoship, I was really excited and then very nervous because I knew we needed to identify the best investment in solving the global housing crisis. And we needed to get it right, my company, for our reputation and for the community that we wanted to build. So with that in mind, we dove into Geoship analysis, Micha, and we found a very rare balance of the capacity of a manufactured product, which is so much more challenging than those of us who have graduated from digital assets and make some software, send it out, build a platform, support it in IT. But this is just also all the more exciting. But then we had to take and leverage my historical experience in the vulnerabilities of manufacturing as well. And again, here, having been able to look at the world through some of the financial challenges that banks are having, they actually are hunting for Geoship. On the other side of Geoship, working on its first building its first plant and working out its versions till it loves what it's doing enough to start doing 3, 4, 5 plants, I already knew that Geoship will be just a darling. They'll have to sort of push back the potential funding to help scale globally. So it was a combination of obviously the human side of solving housing for the percentage of humanity that doesn't have housing right now, is underhoused, or this terrible cycle that Matt and Eli were speaking to and know so well, where we underbuild with toxic materials, and then we suffer that in so many ways, living in these structures and then needing to rebuild them every 20 or 50 or what have you years. So when all that came together, we saw profitability, meaning, and capacity to actually step up and fulfill a global mission at Geoship.
Thank you, David. Really appreciate that. Eli, I was curious about hearing from you, given that we just stepped off of this engineering offsite, this 2-day offsite. You were a fly on the wall. You're like up to date on the very latest progress that we're making to get this product to market and get our factory built and everything. Just would love to get your feedback and impression of where we're at in the offsite and your perspective.
Basically, for the last 2 days. Yeah, for the last 2 days, I've been in the conference room with the core team talking about all the little things that we're figuring out. And, 6 months ago, I was looking at this thinking there's a lot of things they've got to figure out. And yesterday, I just kept looking at them and looking at the lists and the Notion pages and being like, they've thought through everything I was worried about. There's like two or three things I want to stress and say, hey, we need to look at this a little bit more. And hey, let's consider doing this slightly differently. But I was blown away, Misha, just blown away at the team and the brilliant minds on the team that are just thinking through things and charting it out and, systematically looking at everything. I'm far beyond what I would be doing. It's just my hat's off to you and the team. Well done.
Yeah, and just to add in that a little bit, our CTO delivered the first 10 Model S's and was like head of vehicle dynamics at Tesla. Our head of manufacturing was like setting up the tent, the famous kind of tent where the Model 3 was built by hand and like running those stand-ups. And our head of product was at Apple, Tesla, the early years, and then Zoox. And they're really like, it's exciting to see them thinking about all of these geodesic home building challenges through the lens of like car manufacturing and how to really develop an integrated product and the level of like excitement and they're like kids solving all these problems that are like there's multiple good solutions to every problem and the geodesic dome has never been engineered no almost no home has really been engineered in this way as a fully integrated
No,
product, but especially the geodesic with this control we have over the materials. It's like really exciting, just scalability and affordability, in addition to like this next level kind of crystalline fractal geometry experience.
I'd like to tee off that just a little bit, Morgan. Like the the level of importance of what this is actually doing needs to be stressed. That every single home in America is a prototype. There's one of them built, and that's it. And then you start over and you build another one different. And looking at the intricacies of figuring out every single thing exactly how it's going to go and how that process can be made very, very quickly every single time and just the intricacy of that. I can't stress it enough how important that is. Like, as I was sitting here this morning, I made a list of the numbers of steps. I was looking at the window over here and thinking, okay, how many layers are there from right here to the outside? And I counted 41. Now, if you look at the paint, the touch-up paint, the first layer, the second layer, the mud that goes over to cover the hole where the nail holds up the trim, and then the sanding of that, and then the nail that holds up the drywall and the sanding of that. You got a layer of paint on the main wall, a second layer, drywall paint. You've got screw holes that are mudded over all the way through. There's 42 different steps. Each one of those needs a qualified, experienced contractor to put it together. And those of you that have done a remodel on your bathroom or whatever, knowing what it takes to get one contractor on site every day is one thing. Getting 42 skilled people with different skills to put together 42 layers for one wall. And then yesterday, I'm looking at these designs as they're putting it together. It's just like, this is so simple. There's one outside and one inside, two pieces that clip together like a Lego. And you avoid all that 42 steps. Like, if you can just grasp around that as an investor, what that means, avoiding 40 steps, you have an inside and an outside, they clip together. Now, granted, the first few domes are going to have 3 steps because it's probably not worth an extra $500,000 of R&D this month. So we're going to put normal insulation in the first few until we figure out how to make that as part of the inside wall. But still, like the efficiencies that are gained in that, where you just clip together the whole home, the outside shell in a couple of days, game changer. If that doesn't sell somebody on investment, come talk to me and I'll explain just how complicated it is building a home. Like it, yeah.
Just to double click on that insulation comment, it's not quite normal insulation. It is still rock wool. It's totally all natural and like environment, like more healthy.
High quality, way better than normal. Thank you.
We are going to be moving to the GeoRock insulation in the near future, but we're still doing some R&D on that, and we're still working on some regulatory approvals around it, and we're optimizing for speed to market over doing it perfect. We recognize that as a company, we need to prove ourselves, and doing another $500,000 in R&D on insulation doesn't make sense when we could just use an alternative right now that costs us a little more money, that takes a few extra steps, and within the third, fourth, fifth home, we'll probably replace that with the with the upgraded process. And we're doing that in a lot of different ways. So, but we're not cutting corners. We're doing things right. And the product will keep improving over time. So, it's interesting, Morgan mentioning about just like everybody, like this sense of like Buckminster Fuller really had this vision like 100 years ago. And this is probably the first time it's getting this level of like genius and attention and turning it into an integrated product. And serendipitously, one of our investors texted me during that offsite yesterday and said, "Hey, I have a guy in town. He used to work for Bucky and he's interested in investing in the company." And I literally, after like a all day offsite, it's late at night, it's like 8 o'clock. I go out to dinner with this guy and we had the most phenomenal dinner. And he was practically in tears of like learning about what we're doing and saying, wow, this is like someone's really bringing Bucky's vision into form. And, like I'm getting the chills right now because there's just, a lot of people that have been fans of Bucky and really get who he was as a human and how big of a heart he had and how much of a visionary he was. Like this is actually like what Morgan and Boss did here in conceiving this company and really building this vision. It's like they're actually fulfilling on one of like the great thinkers of our ages on like one of their core ideas and hypotheses of what would really improve the world. And all you are potential investors here, you are the people that are allowing that to happen, like through your investment, through your support, through participating, you are giving the energy, like money is energy, and that energy is allowing us the opportunity to bring that into the world. So we're so grateful for you guys. Matt, I'd love to hear your perspective on like if were there any defining moments for you with your Geoship investment and also like impressions of the team, since that's been like a topic here. I know a lot of people care about the team behind the product.
Yeah, sure. But before I do that, I just also kind of want to piggyback on that because it's very exciting point here. It's like it's part of the sales process that through that really where I really turned the corner is when I got that Geoship essentially is looking at this essentially like housing from a first principles perspective, where it's really like, okay, there's all of this inertia that we're doing in culture that's happening over here. Cool. But then Eli was pointing to that, right? But like, if we just say we don't need all of that and we just look at this really as a problem that we can start from scratch on, what does that then look like? That was really one of the most exciting things for me about this. Yeah, and the team, you guys, you haven't heard that much from Morgan, at least not on this call. But this guy's got such a big heart, and he's and a brain to boost. Like he's got like whenever I had a question to anything, he was just always there, and the level of context that he could give me and the depth was just like phenomenal. So that was one thing. And then with Micha, we've been friends for a little while, so I know him better than Morgan, and I know he's built a number of different companies. And when he gets excited about something, this guy is just a machine. Just watch out. He's like we can see it now. Like it's going to happen. If this is in his wheelhouse, I was like, okay, like I could feel the power. I could feel the potentiality with his manifesting like ability, frankly. It was obvious to me that like when I grokked the potential of like how they were thinking about where they were, but also about the team that they were lining up and the funding that was necessary. When I understood all of these pieces together, I was like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. And yes, this is a large check relative to everything for me, but I really want to be a part of this. And I wish I could have given more, frankly, because I really believe in this team. And I was super excited to hear about, um, who they've hired since as well. I'd love to meet them because their resumes were incredible. So you had another question as well, Micha, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of threw out there if there's any defining moments for you in the process.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think the defining moment for me was like when I actually sat in the dome, and I mean, you were there. I was just like,
Yeah.
Oh,
It is for a lot of people. It's like I'm actually really proud to say that almost every single person that was a potential investor that came to visit the dome has invested, because it's such an experience to actually step inside our prototype. And it is just an engineering prototype. It is not the full scale version. And you guys have seen the pictures online. It's like a smaller version. The one we're building in Q1 is going to be almost 10 times the size. And when you step in it, you get it. You're like, wow, this is real. These guys are going to be able to pull this off. And it has an energy in there that you can actually feel in your body. And it's like, it feels good to be inside of this thing. And like, what would it look like if I lived in here and I like spent my entire day in here? And it was a big reason why I joined the team. I remember stepping in the prototype for the first time and just being blown away. So, David, you probably had like some really more intimate exposure to our team than most investors. I know you've spoken with almost all of our team members. What gave you confidence in our team and their leadership to deliver on this kind of ambitious mission? And maybe just maybe share a little bit about our impressions on the culture that you've seen at the company.
Yeah, wow. Well, I'll go to the geeky side of diligence first, because these good fellow investors here have spoken to the heart of it, and I think that's just as relevant. So let me just kind of go over to some hard facts, or what I say, like touch the light switch 10 times approach to diligence that I tend to do. We at Holos are privileged to be early stage test clients in a heretofore never released applied AI to venture capital investment analysis tool. And it takes deep data science and advanced psychometrics, if you will, or the psychology of professional performance in a team dynamic lens under analysis. So you're looking at each of the stakeholders and everything that can be known about them, LinkedIn and past work history, and kind of scraping all of those companies and sites individually. And then it puts them together as a team. And you talk to investors, and we've all, if you haven't sat in the rooms, you've heard the TED Talks. Ideas, there's a million of them, and the great ones, there's plenty. But teams, I invest in people. Good ideas, but people. So we took a very, I've never put an investment under such diligence. And again, I felt like I'm not just putting my capital where my commitment is, but brand reputation, and then really wanting to have this showcase investment to build a global impact community, inspire people. So with that in mind, we came away with an in-depth analysis to a degree that I've never seen before. And I'll tell you, Geoship ranks among, and we had to sort of, grabbed a few of Sequoia's best and a few others from some of my friends in Frankfurt around the world. And I'll tell you, Geoship is in the top 5% of the most successful startups that I've ever run through that very rigorous analysis. I mean, first of all, Misha said, LinkedIn, we comparing like professional notes. And he said, really, is my LinkedIn still out? He was like very casual, like incredible, just to take in the summary on Misha alone, let alone start working backwards and meeting the rest of the team, and then our incredible founder, Morgan, et cetera. So I can tell you that if you need that balance of sort of discriminating technical, sort of hard math and hard analysis of the fuzzy data on human beings, which is a tricky combination, you can come to Geoship with incredible confidence. And then, as my esteemed co-investors Eli and Matt have suggested, please find the chance to come also meet the team when you can. Definitely tour the instance, and then everything else will fall into place. I won't go into any details, but this investment has been so exciting that some of us have even relocated our entire lives to be reasonably close to Geoship HQ. Among all the other investments, and we intend to make 8 good impact investments a year, this is the one where I decided I want my kids to see what I'm doing. I'm bringing them to Geoship.
Thanks, David. Eli, you made a comment about the culture the other day. Could you share just your thoughts on the culture we're creating at Geoship and why that's important?
I think it was about 7:40 last night.
It feels like a week ago.
And I was exhausted after 12 hours and the team's still on fire. It's like, I know you're on salary and they don't want to leave. Like they're having so much fun solving things and we've got the family dog there and there's a baby that comes in at times and yesterday I was talking to the cleaner as I walked somebody through to give him a tour. And the cleaner stopped my guest and was like, I don't know if you're looking to work here or you're looking to invest here, but this is the best company ever. And I looked at her and she's like, "You're the cleaner. Like how do you build a culture where the cleaner is a raving fan?" And I'm just talking the extremities, but just the company culture that's been built here, everyone wants to be here. One of the lead engineers gave up $1 million plus salary to come work for us at a fraction of that because he believes in it and he sees the potential of what his stock options are going to turn into. And just there's so many things like that we could go on and on with the team, the culture. I love working there. I'm working there for free. I'm just going in and helping. I'm not even on payroll
Yeah, yeah.
to the tune of like 50 hours a week, not just here and there, but
Yeah, we appreciate it. Just so everyone knows, we're setting up the equipment at our first pilot production factory right now. So this is part of our 15,000 square foot facility that you've probably seen in the videos, and that's for installing equipment. This facility is going to be potentially producing 8+ homes a month by the end of next year. In terms of its capacity, I don't think we'll be delivering that many a month by the end of next year, but our capacity will be able to deliver that much. And then Eli today is already working on building out our next factory. So we haven't even got our first factory producing domes yet, but we're already working on the next factory that's going to be more than 10 times the size. And it's going to be significantly more efficient, and it's going to enable us to scale. And when you're working on something that's so important, we can't just wait around until our first factory gets online. We have to be already making those chess moves and making those moves. And Eli, basically, we didn't have enough resources to do it. And, we already have, we didn't have the budget to like start working on it. And Eli's just like, I'm going to take the reins of this. I'm going to make it happen. And this is part of what happens at Geoship. It's like people just show up. Like there's so many people that have just showed up and supported us and really and just contributed to making this happen. So again, thank you everybody here for showing up today and just being here to listen to us. I see a lot of questions in the chat about like product, and the topic of this webinar wasn't to talk about the product, but it's really about the investors, and you're hearing the investors like perspective of the product. So I wonder if there's anything you guys want to add, Matt, Eli, or David, just about your perspective on the product um and yeah, and like what kind of difference is this product going to make in the world?
I'll take that on. Being the one with the most real estate experience here, like my journey with Geoship really started 2 years ago when I had just bought 5 brand new rental homes. Now, just imagine I wrote a check. I'm going to go tour these 5 homes that I just bought for the first time, do final inspection, go around with some blue tape and make sure they were built right. And I open up the front door and I'm hit with a wave of toxic fumes that made me gasp for fresh air. I coughed all the toxins out the best I could, and I walked away from the front door and I stood there looking at this home, and it's like, this is a toxic home I just bought. What am I going to do with it? I'm not even going to walk in there, and some family with kids is going to buy this and live in it. And I sat there and I just cried. It's just like, I can't do this anymore. Now, granted, at my peak, I was making about $85,000 a month with passive income without working in rent. And I'm adding some more rentals to my portfolio, frankly, to replace a couple that had burned down the year before because they're wood. And I'm sitting there thinking, what am I going to do? So I got one of my employees to run through there, holding their breath, opening all the windows and doors. 5 days later, I went in to do the final inspection, and I still couldn't walk in the home with the windows and doors open. That's when it all changed because I started selling it all. Had this amazing passive income built up, and it's just like, I don't want it. Can't do this anymore. Homes would get mold, and we would fix it and rip out walls and tear out floors and fill up roll-off dumpsters and haul them to the dump by the hundreds. And it's just like, we got to find a better solution. And at that point, I'd sold probably 80% of my real estate when I found Geoship, and now it's down to 99% of it's gone. And it's just like, we need a better solution. Found Morgan, found Geoship, held a piece of Geoship in my hand for the first time and felt this crystalline energy that's just unexplainable until you feel it. Walked in the dome, felt that, slept in the dome, changed my life. There was another moment where my dad, my entire life, since I was an infant, I remember him begging my mom to live in a geodesic dome, and she refused to. She's like, they're ugly. I don't want one. My mom came out and toured the prototype, and she's like, I want one. Can I buy it now? When can you install it? I'm ready to move in it. And my dad just gasped. He's like, what? Because these things are gorgeous. They feel good. They're gorgeous. And my mom had been in 30 or 40 of them in her life, and she always said no, but there's something amazing about these things. They're so different than any home I've ever been in. So anyway, that's what I would say to it. They're great homes, a great team, super passionate people. Yesterday, I realized for the very first time that there's no chance that we're not going to build these. We've passed over the hump that it's inevitable now. There's enough pieces designed that all we got to do is make the molds, and we can, like, it's going to happen. It's been de-risked to that point. I'm confident of that. And I crossed over that hump yesterday. And that is a huge milestone. It's inevitable now that these will be built. So I don't remember what the question was, but
Oh, wow. Just your heart, Eli, and I've known you for a long time, and just like your dedication to like integrity and like working on things that are integrous for you, and just seeing your journey on pulling out of real estate. And I remember too, like I didn't tell you about Geoship right away when I started found out about it work. And I remember the first time I told you, you were just like almost in disbelief, and you were like, what? Like, is that even possible? And probably one of the more skeptical friends I have in terms of investing and diligence. And so really grateful to have you on board. Um, yeah. Oh, so someone asking here to Eli, is there a significance to your $888,000 investment? The fact that it was at that number.
magical number, like
Yeah.
infinity. Like, why not?
Yeah.
The
We are.
number's bigger than that because of the other investments now, but that was the biggest check I wrote was $888,888.88. Infinite. Let's infinite homes here.
Yeah. What I'll say too on that note, I think all of you who are on this call today probably feel the heart of Geoship, and like there's a heart and there's a magic here, and there's something different here. But we're also really like, these are all the people working on this project are really like grounded in the creation and the reality in the like, it's like there might be some like hippy dippy vibes of like we're really connected to like a different layer over here, but it's so grounded in the actual creation of it. And it's like it's a beautiful balance, and I've actually never been part of a company that has held such a beautiful balance of those two things. And I think it's what we need to do to create a better world. It's like we're here as stewards of this planet. A lot of the people that are here, our investors, our employees, our team members, they've woken up to an understanding that the way they maybe looked at the world in the past wasn't fully accurate, and they're creating a new world. They're creating a better world, and we're building the bridge to that better world. And I truly feel like Geoship is one of the best opportunities to invest in a bridge of the new world. And the reason we did this crowdfunding, the reason all you guys are here, the reason we're asking our investors to show up to this is because we actually want to empower people that share those common values with us, that share that energy, that are going to be great stewards of the wealth that this company creates. It's be way easy for us to just go down to like Sand Hill Road, pitch some VCs, get a big check, and get back to work over here on building a product. But we're actually spending hundreds of hours as a company going through audits, filing with the SEC, launching this Reg CF crowdfunding campaign, because it's actually important to us that we don't just participate in all the legacy financial institutions that are going to be making all the wealth off of this creation. We want you guys, we want all the people that are on this call to be able to make an investment and to be the stewards of the wealth that this company creates. And we are so early in this game. Like our valuation right now is $44 million. If we're selling, 5% of the new homes in the world, this is going to be $1 trillion company. And like you can do the math on what that does to your investment, but it's insane. Now, we're not guaranteed to get there. We're still a startup. There's a lot of risk. So while a lot of our investors have told us this is the biggest investment they make in their life, I encourage our investors to be responsible. Don't invest more than you can afford to lose, but do make an investment, because I have never seen a better investment opportunity, which is why, like, one of the reasons I'm here every day is because we've taken so much risk out of the equation and the opportunity is so huge that this is a multi-trillion-dollar industry, and we have a product that has all the value propositions that no one else is delivering, and we can do it at a lower cost than everybody else. So, I just think the opportunity is huge. We want incredible, amazing people to be stewards of that wealth, and we're going out of our way to put in the work and energy so you can be. And so with just a small investment of $222, that's our minimum investment side for retail investors, you could become an investor today. And if you have the means to put in a larger investment, there's lots of amazing perks and opportunities. A lot of our investors are people that really want this product. And if you make like a $99,000 investment, for instance, you get a $33,000 discount on your dome. And if you increase that to $236,000, you get a $99,000 discount on your dome. So there's going to be some really great perks. If you're somebody who wants to buy this product in the future, you're able to show up early. And you can also get early access to your dome. So we are going to be delivering some of the first domes to these larger investors to just show them our appreciation for our support and to incentivize them to be great stewards of this company and contribute to energy that's going to make this all possible. So anyone else besides me have any closing thoughts? I'm told. Oh, Lauren's putting up our thank you screen. You can actually scan this QR code to make your investment on WeFunder. Just go to wefunder.com/geoship. You make an account, and you can see some of our perks here. They're also listed on the WeFunder site. So I'll close by just saying how grateful I am for all of you to be here today, to spend your time listening to us, getting to know our investors, and a little bit more about our story and our background. And we'd love to have you on this journey for us. So please join us, and I'll open up the floor if anyone else would like to provide any closing thoughts.
I'd like to say a couple things. The Christmas gifts I'm giving this year is stock in this company. My nieces and nephews. $222 investment, 10 years from now, will probably buy their first home. That's it.
Yeah, and just also to kind of one thing I wanted to say was, before founding Geoship, I spent a long time kind of following the synchronicities, through kind of open-ended travel and sailing all around the Pacific, and also with like WikiLeaks and this Julian Assange. Like, I just say that basically there's certain realities that like want to come into existence, and they kind of like our lives, that they kind of draw people toward them. And that's definitely what's happening here. with Geoship, we are enabling a vision that a lot of people have in different ways. And it's like, it's just a really powerful kind of attractor force, I think, that this regenerative village future just wants to come into existence. And because we're creating this kind of tool to empower so many people's visions, that they're that kind of you know juice or just power is really palpable, you know.
Misha, I wanted to offer too, and I don't want to speak on behalf of Matt or Eli, we're all busy people, but I'd be very open to speaking to any prospective investor in a short focused call on our journey. If anything was particularly interesting, or they obviously they have direct access to you at Geoship, but if they want that independent third party position, it'd be an honor to represent how we came to our decision and the confidence and the commitment to invest in every round from here on out. So really a privilege to be asked to gather with these wonderful people considering the investment. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Geoship.
Thanks, David. Appreciate that. Any closing thoughts, Matt?
After so many mic drops, it's really hard to top them, I would say. So I just want to thank everybody. This has been like really inspiring me for, again, I feel like really re-energized about this even more than I was before. And yeah, thank you guys. I'm so excited to see this come into reality.
Yeah, amazing. It's such a rare opportunity to find a company that has so much heart and so much commitment to impact that can also become a generational opportunity. Like, I really look at this as a generational opportunity, similar to Tesla, similar to, some of these companies, but one that is really like built on the foundation of stewardship, of impact. And it is, money is just energy. We can make a huge impact on the world, and we can also like create some great wealth from that impact. And that's what we want all of you guys here to do, who are on this call. And just, it just takes that one click and committing. We have thousands of investors supporting this company, and we're just so grateful to have you guys here on the mission. So join us. Thanks for coming. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day, everybody.
Hey, I got
Thanks,
one thing if you have a second.
Yeah, say it quick.
I was just thinking the last time I saw an investment that I think is this good was when Bitcoin was 17 cents.
I was going to say the same thing, but mine wasn't 17 cents. Mine was more like $7, but good on you, brother. No, the word that I didn't hear you say, actually, Misha, is disruption. Like when we're thinking about things from a first principles perspective, and there's, literally trillions at stake in terms of market potentiality, it's an insane upside with a massive, consciousness elevating potentiality associated with that. That's very rare. Like that's a once in a generational timeline, I think. So we're very lucky to live in a time, I think, where not one, but two of these investments are potentially available.
And in harmony with Matt's upside, there's a commensurate lowering of net risk because you have government existential support in solving their housing crisis. You have international banking desperate to lend into the new economy. And so, I mean, when you bring all of those together, I think people can invest with such incredible confidence. And that's speaking as a genius who sold all his Bitcoin at $150. I'm holding Geoship forever.
I'm sure we could have some really fun conversation about our investment careers and the ups and downs and some of the great decisions we made and bad decisions we made. But these are all like really legendary people that have incredible careers, that are here with Geoship and have made the decision, made the call to support this journey. So so grateful for all of you, and just so excited about this opportunity. I truly just look at myself as a steward to do whatever's in my power to help make this happen. And I will keep showing up every day passionately to create this new world. So thanks for being here. Appreciate your support. tell all your friends, tell your family, invest your friends as a Christmas gift. Make it happen. The more support we have is what's going to make the difference. We need to get this factory built. We need to raise this $5 million to get this factory built and deliver our first 10 units. So let's make it happen. We appreciate you. Have an amazing day.